For more information on this layout and to read about it in our digital magazine, head to tmrmag.com. That's tmrmag.com. Thanks. Enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Jenny Waters with Trackside Model Railroading. We're here at Stan Oxendahl's Ithaca Bay Lumber and Transportation Limited. It's an O-scale layout, and he's going to show us some of his custom work that he's done.
Hi, I'm Stan Oxendahl. I'd like to show you a few things I do on all of my brass locomotives, how I customize them, make them run a little better and look unique to me and my operation here at Ithaca Bay Lumber and Transportation. This model here is a Chemtron kit, and I like to, like I said earlier, make them unique to me. First of all, the running gear is very important to me, so they run prototypically. I have been exposed to chain drives in the last maybe 8 years, 10 years, and Lee Snover, to my knowledge, was probably the forerunner of doing chain drives. I saw how he did it, and I have duplicated that. So rather than push the locomotive from the rear truck through to the front truck, I think that chain drives are a more efficient way to drive a locomotive. So you put the motor in the middle of the locomotive and run a chain to the crankshaft, which is the source of the real prototype locomotive. The source of the power is the pistons. So you centralize the power on a model from the piston area, which in turn drives the trucks. It is a quite painstaking process to do this, but it can be done, and with accurate cuts and measurements you can pull it off.
I noticed that you've got something black around the motor. How did you attach the motor to the frame of the unit so it would fit in there and drive the chain?
Yeah. The attachment of the motor to the frame is an issue you have to deal with. So on this locomotive, I made a saddle that was split in half with a hinge. So the saddle with a screw allows the saddle to open up, and then you put the motor in and then close the saddle and reattach the screw, which holds the motor in place to drive the locomotive.
And is that saddle brass, plastic?
It's brass tube.
Okay.
That is the right diameter that of the same diameter of the motor.
And then did you solder that in, or is it screwed in?
No, it's soldered to the frame.
Okay. So what are some of the customizations that you've done to the models, as far as, like, what do you do to make it unique to you and to your railroad?
Okay, I like oil burning locomotives, so I typically will add an oil bunker to all of my locomotives. I have maybe 2 wood burners on the layout, but I lean towards oil burners. So that would be one thing I do, is add a oil bunker where the oil would be stored. And the decks and the end beams in real life were wood. So, but a kit or any brass locomotive that's available would use brass etched to look like wood. That doesn't cut it for me, so I make my own wood decks and wood end beams, so that it's more realistic.
And what do you use to weather your wood?
Oh boy, mainly My weathering techniques are typically an acrylic water-based paint on the raw material, and then when that dries I apply an oil-based wash which goes into all the graining and highlights the graining. And then after that I use chalk to brush in and make it look highlighted in certain areas. That's typically what I do throughout my modeling.
So Stan, going back to the motor, how did you connect the chain drive system to the actual driveline of the locomotive? Was that hard to do?
Yes, that's painstaking, the most painstaking part of the process, because the crankshaft has to be cut in two, and a Delrin plastic gear has to be installed in between the journals of the crankshaft. And then once you get that put back together, I drill a pin to secure the Delrin sprocket to the crankshaft so it will not come apart or spin. You have plastic going on to metal, and glues, super glues, can break loose over time, so I opt to use a pin that goes through the sprocket and through the steel crankshaft so that it cannot spin.
So did you put that like in a vise and then drill it by hand?
I put it on my drill press.
Okay.
And so I get an accurate bore, in a true in-line bore.
Okay.
And then the chain is a plastic Delrin chain, super flexible, tough, very, very strong plastic. If you've worked with plastics, you've heard of Delrin, and it's a good, tremendous medium for building chains and other moving parts. These sprockets and chain I buy them through Micro Mark. It's a model tool and supply company. And then you put another sprocket on the shaft of the motor, which is easier to do than having to split the crankshaft. You only get one crack at the crankshaft because you only get one crankshaft per model, and they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
I bet.
Oh man, it's just nerve-wracking as all get out.
So when you're actually going back to the motor and mounting it, when you're soldering it, are you putting your hand in there, getting the chain tightened up, getting everything aligned, and then you're tapping it with solder?
No.
Or
No, the chain or the motor is in that saddle, and you by loosening the saddle, you can rotate the motor to get the right tension on the chain. The saddle is already permanently mounted to the frame, but now with the flip open half of the saddle, you can adjust the motor to the right tension on the chain.
So for modelers that don't know, it's a geared down motor that is a side mount shaft. Can we show the audience a little bit of that?
Okay, the motors are made in Germany by Fall Harbor, and they are a 59-to-1 gear reduction on the very end of it, and so that gear reduction creates the shaft to be off center, which helps in any motor installation because it's you're not restricted to a center mount.
So when you're turning the motor, you're literally going further or closer away to the drive line,
Exactly.
allowing you to tighten or loosen.
Yep.
That
Yep.
makes more sense.
If it was center mounted, you'd have to be dead on with your saddle, and I'm not that capable.
Okay, well thank you, and let's go to the next model then. you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button. Also, think about subscribing for more information and more videos about model railroading.